Did you get fed? Was it good? Oh yeah. When we get the word that Pat's going to bring food to our house, we do not complain. We just show up. I'm going to invite my family because I got kids that need to go to bed, and then there's some grandkids that probably need to go to bed too. So I'm funny. I'm on a roll today. I'm on fire. What? So come on up. We'll introduce you. Come here, sweetie. You want to come up here? So we actually have all of our kids here, which is somewhat miraculous. Not like up in the parting of the Red Sea kind of miraculous, but almost. So this is my wife, LaDonna. She is not Martin Luther's wife. She's my wife.
I saw my name up there. I was like, what's this?
So we've been married for 41 years, and at least 39 blissful years. So let's see. Let's just start here. This is Cooper and Isabel, and they belong to Sarah. And this is Alan Johnson, the Alan Johnson. And they're going to get married in January. So she's the youngest daughter, oldest child, the most wise. Clearly. She didn't bring any of her children. At least so far, the smartest person here tonight. So Christina and John, her husband, I think, is taking care of 4 kids back in, just 2? Okay. Oh, why aren't we there? Yeah. So this is Christina. John's not here. He's in Mitchell. They live in Mitchell. And then the newlyweds are in the middle, Jenna and Mike. Mike is our youngest son. And then the funny one on the end is Josh and his wife, Emily, and their beautiful daughter, Leo. So these are the folks I get to hang out with on some regularity and couldn't be prouder of them. So, adios amigos.
Have fun.
With the way things were going, I figured the church would get damaged, you know. When you grow up around the church, you're probably too comfortable, you know. So, and if you want to know, none of them know that all the little ones don't know what I do, nor do they care. Although Cooper has started announcing to people, my papa is the bishop. And I've actually seen people back up at that. And I'm not joking about that. First time he did it, I backed up. So, I always like this part of the evening. It's a way of saying thank you to people that are making transitions or hitting milestones. I know that 25 is a daunting mark now in the new church. In the old church, even 40 years ago, that was easy peasy, because we all got done when we were about 27 when we came out of seminary. And so 25 years went by, and we were still pretty young. And with second career, 25 years gets to be a pretty significant milestone. But the service and the work that people bring in is still deeply appreciated. So tonight we're going to honor our 25-year-old years of ordination. We're going to also say thanks to some folks that are retiring. And then we're going to honor our 50, 55, and 60 this year. All right. So who are we starting with? Anna Peck. Anna, come on. Why don't we just gather right down here? So Anna should actually be getting 2 of these because she's not only celebrating her 25th, but she's also retiring.
So I'm not getting 2 of them?
Do you want 2 of those?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want 2 small catechisms too? One's enough. Come on now, I'm a giver. See, now you got one for either lapel. So here's your certificate. So it's,
Very nice.
appreciate you, sir. But we did give you a small catechism.
Thank you very much.
There will be a test later on. All right. And April Peterson. Congratulations. And thank you for your service. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. That's good.
Do you like that?
Yeah, I do.
They're very popular. Yeah, 2 times ago I took, do you remember how many I took? 250 to Africa with me? Crystal? Those crosses, do you remember how many I took when I went to Africa with them?
Maybe was it 30 or?
Oh, it was more than that. Anyway, I could have taken over the country with those little Luther seal pins. Oh man, I had cops stopping me on the street. Hey, can I get one of those? No, you cannot. Okay, why do we have 2 small catechisms? Oh, well, of course, because they couldn't share. Could we have the Fonkers? Where, I know they're here. Dennis? Bring your bride, come on. I mean, she gets her own small catechism. There you go. You bet. And there's that. Thank you. We've been colleagues and
Yes,
neighbors
we
and
Same conference.
same conference, absolutely. Enjoyed working with you. On you bet. Thanks for your service very much. Appreciate it. And if we can have George Geehan, who's also retiring.
Retiring.
Doesn't seem possible, right? 40 years?
Went fast.
It is, doesn't it? Like no other. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And Mary Ann. Where's Mary Ann at? Right there. Thank you for your service as well. Appreciate that. You're living down. You what? And that's for you. Thank you very much.
She gets a certificate for retirement too.
Hey, you do score. You do get a certificate. Give me the cross back. No, I'm just. Okay. She invited me to come and preach with her her last service. It was fun. I enjoyed it. You bet. And Ron Beckman. Come on. Yeah, come on. Bring Linda with you. Come on. There you go. These 2 people have been, well, you've been in the Synod way before I was. Not that you're old, but Linda and I have worked together and been a gift. She's been with LPG, Lutheran Plain Giving, since the beginning, right? Yeah, since the beginning. So really, to both of them, thank you for your service and your ministry here in the South Dakota Synod in this church. Appreciate it very much. And you're going to be here tomorrow, right?
What's that?
You're going to be here tomorrow. All right, now we're stepping it up. 50 years of service. Our first recipient is Richard Foster, Pastor Foster. I know he's here. I teased him earlier. Richard. I saw him at supper. Did he leave? I'm not joking. He did leave? Oh. Did you make him mad? What? Oh, well, I hope not. All right. So, Dwayne Larson. There he is. Thank you, Dwayne. Appreciate it very much. Whoop. And Augie Borkart. And Fran, you can come up as well. So you know you re-elected their oldest daughter as the vice president. I get to work with the youngest daughter. And 36 years ago, these were some of the first people I met when I went to camp for the first time, because they were taking kids to camp. And appreciate very much the ministry that you guys have had in the South Dakota Synod. It's been a gift. And Richard Peterson. Come on, Jolie. Thank you. Thank you very much. So there's that, and there is that. So thanks for the ministry.
Thank you.
And the Reverend Don Sahlberg. I think Pastor Don holds the world's record for the most times retired. I can think of 3 times when he's told me in my 10 years, I don't want to work anymore. 10 minutes later, I want to work some more.
It's because you call me and say, by the way, would you? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Whoop. So before we move to the next, just really particularly our 50 and 55 have been people, all of them, this would be true, that have done just marvelous ministry during their regular time, but they've also continued to be a gift to this church as they've served in interims and being a part of faith communities across the state. So we've got one more. Are these at the 60 now? So now we're up into the Hall of Fame kind of stuff. And the first one is Martin Haase. Pastor Haase, if you look out. Thank you. Yeah. So, colleagues across town in Mitchell, and appreciate all the work that you've done in South Dakota. You've served a number of churches. And
Something missing in there. I was pastor at St. John's Dimmock in St. George. That's where I started, St. John's in Corsica.
did we get that wrong?
That's not in here.
Oh, well, we'll have to fire someone. Sorry, Crystal.
St. John's Dimmock.
Right. Yep. Thank you very much. They took it. Okay. Are we done? No, we're not done. Two more. And Leroy Flagstead. Come on, Val. Please do not tell him about when I was a little boy, because they've known me since I was a little boy. My dad used to do CPE, Clinical Pastoral Education, in Western North Dakota, and I was this little kid, not a little bit older than these two that were running around up here when we first met, so don't tell them any of those stories. So,
The best babysitter we ever had.
well, thank you. So thank you very much. He has served in the Dakotas, I think the whole time, right? Either North Dakota or
All
South
in
Dakota.
South Dakota.
Okay. Thank you. And we don't know, is George Nielsen here? Okay. All right. Well, why don't we give another round of applause to all of our honorees this evening. And I am sorry, Martin, that we didn't get all the information in there. Sorry about that. All right. I believe we are ready to hear from Molly. Is that correct? I think that's, no? Well, let me look. Not that I've ever made a mistake. Okay, just the whole voting thing. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Do we have people here from St. Peter and from First in Wakanda? Do we have folks from either church? If they're here, would you please come forward? You're doing great. One of the hardest things, I don't know about other bishops, but I know for me, one of the hardest things to do is to close churches. It is always a good celebration, but it is always sad. There's just no other way to put it. You think about all the ministry. Come on down so you're down in front. Come on. And as you heard in my earlier conversation, 2 years ago I had to close Trinity and Storla. And I can remember vividly being a little boy sitting in the pew singing between mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, and my family all gathered there. Jeez. So, for all of you and for the ministry that you had, we appreciate all the work, all the proclamation, the sharing of the good news of Jesus Christ. So we commend you and the work that you had in the ministry that we share. But now we're going to invite Molly to have a little conversation with us.
I move your stuff. I'm gonna move your stuff. Maybe. Well, good evening. It is so good to be with you here this weekend, to be here these last 24 hours and to hear not only the excitement that you have for the 2018 ELCA Youth Gathering, but really the excitement that this Synod has for being church together. Together in this world, being the Church of Jesus Christ. These kinds of things just fill me up. Thank you to Bishop Zelmer for the invitation and for always being a champion for the gathering and for the work that you do in the ELCA. And he's right. The South Dakota Synod sends more participants to the gathering than any other synod, 1,100. 1,100 participants in 2015, and although it's not a competition, I will warn you, Southeast Minnesota Synod and Southwest Minnesota Synod are gaining. So if that mattered, just maybe wanna, keep your game up. I also want to thank my dear colleague Suzanne. Is she here? She's probably hiding in the back. She's way up there. Thank you, Suzanne. For years, you have been an advocate for young people in our church, in our world, and you work hard to make sure that South Dakota young people have a place at the table. I think you all know this. But you have a gem. You have a fearless woman of God, a tireless disciple. Thank you, Suzanne, for your friendship and your work together for the sake of the gospel. Now, as we start off here, there's probably something that you should know about me. I'm fairly certain that I'm Lutheran by a matter of convenience. See, I was baptized in my grandparents' congregational church in a small town in North Dakota. But I spent my early years growing up in Fargo, and we attended Hope Lutheran Church, which was a block from our apartment building. It was just probably the easiest option for a single mother to get her 2 little girls to church some or most Sundays. My first memory of church is a Christmas pageant. I can still picture the sanctuary at Hope. I was about 6 years old. I was a sheep in the pageant. That's not me. Unfortunately, we couldn't find a pageant, but they were just as awesome as that. Their costumes were awesome, like full body, fuzzy sheep costumes, cute little headpieces with little lamb ears. Pageants were a big deal at this church. It was, and still is, a large congregation, so I can imagine there were dozens of families involved, lots of music and lines to learn, stages to build, and on and on. So in part, I probably remember the pageant for the work that was put into it and the splendor that was the Christmas production. But the other part of my memory is getting in trouble, because I think I embraced my role a bit too much. See, I based my performance, my sheep performance, on my favorite animal, a dog. And what do dogs do when they are put into a pen with other dogs? They greet each other, as only dogs do. And so I spent a good portion of my time as a sheep in the play celebrating Jesus Christ's birth, crawling around on my hands and knees with the other barnyard animals trying to smell their butts. I'm sure my mother was mortified, and I distinctly remember a few whispered, "Stop that," from somewhere off stage. And thus began my time in the Lutheran Church. And your promise to love me through the good, the bad, and the embarrassing. And really, I don't remember a time when the Lutheran Church wasn't a part of my life. Pageants, vacation Bible school, Sunday school, confirmation class every Wednesday after school, youth group, retreats, summer camp, fundraisers, musicals, bell choir, worship. My growing up years were filled with memories of church, and really it hasn't slowed down since then. I knew from a fairly young age that I was meant to work with youth in our church. That call has taken several different forms over the years, each feeling right for that part of my life. Youth ministry has been my life since I was a youth. It is a high and holy calling. It's not something that I imagine ever growing out of, but something I try to grow further into each year. My new favorite church book is by Morgan Schmidt, and it's called Woo, Awakening Teenagers' Desires to Follow in the Way of Jesus. It is a refreshing new lens on youth ministry. Her premise is that if we, the church, meet young people where their desires are, where their passions are, and help them see God at work in those things, that is a much more effective way to show and teach Jesus than insisting that they fall in line with how we'd like to deliver Jesus and church to them. In this book, Morgan identifies 3 central desires that teens have: someone to become, somewhere to belong, and something to do that changes the world. Someone to become. Identity is important in our life as Christians, right? We say that our core identity is that of a child of God. We are marked and sealed at our baptism, and our identity rests in and with God forever. Identity is also super important to teenagers. Tons of messaging come at our kids every day about how to act and look and think and vote, decide, eat, all these messages. And they get questions on a regular basis from us well-intentioned adults about what they're going to do after high school, if they're going to college, if they have a job, if they have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, what choices are they making about drugs and sex and alcohol, what career are they going to have? But I think in all the asking of what they're going to do or not do, we've missed a pretty crucial question, perhaps one that our souls yearn for the most. Who do you want to become? See, being is very different than doing. And I'm not talking about becoming a teacher or an engineer. I'm not talking about being a Democrat or Republican, not the nouns of being, but the adjectives. One of my church mentors was a woman by the name of Carlene. She was on staff in our congregation in this multi-purpose role, part administrator, part Christian education, and part just like everything else. Carlene walked beside me all of my teen years, always was a listening ear or an encourager. But one of the things that I am most grateful for was that she believed in me, my gifts, my leadership. I was in 9th or 10th grade, and I wanted to teach Sunday school. Carlene trusted me and a friend of mine to teach the preschool class. I remember that being an awesome and challenging year with those little people. I learned a lot about leadership, about being organized, about being flexible. I learned about my faith and about the Bible as I had to look at it in a new way through the eyes of a 4-year-old. I remember making mistakes and Carlene sitting us down to explain what we could do better next time. See, when custom and maybe even logic would have sentenced us to be helpers in a classroom confined to handing out the markers or the snack, Carlene took a chance on my friend and I. She created space for us to step into leadership, to participate in the life of our church and of these young people. I look back at that experience and I realize how much it formed me. See, nearly every personality inventory I take comes back with me skewed towards leadership. In my teenage desire and quest for someone to become, others recognized something in me and gave me the chance to lead, to dream, to try, and to fail. Think about your own life. or about your own faith community? How are you carving out space for young people to explore and grow? How are you creating meaningful leadership opportunities where youth can try out their wings? I think when young adults, or really any person, desires someone to be, their desires are more about who they are going to be rather than what they're going to be. Now, again, in some ways, we're like dogs chasing our tails, right? We never really arrive at being. Humans continue to shift and change their whole lives, but there are some core things in our desires of someone to become. We, the church, need to step into this messy discovery with young people. As adults, we can share stories, push obstacles out of the way, provide a safety net under failures, and pray fervently. And if you are a youth or young adult tonight, know that even while you are maybe still figuring this out yourself, you have a role in the lives of those coming after you. Those little kids at your church or in your neighborhood think you walk on water. Even if you are totally messed up and confused, they think you can do no wrong. I know this because my daughter is one of those kids. She and her peers watch you closely and are in awe of who you are becoming. A conversation or prayer with you makes their day. When you, as a teen, volunteer at Vacation Bible School or in Sunday school, it's the best thing in the world for them. You are helping form them. You are encouraging their kindness, their dreaming, their hopes for themselves and the world. Somewhere to belong. A desire for a here, a starting point, somewhere to depart from. I think in order to be effectively sent into the world as a disciple, in order to grow into your full being, you need to have a safe, dependable place to start from. Where you leave needs to be a place you'd want to return to, not a place you're running from. It's a place that has put time and energy and love into you as you build up into a kind and curious and courageous person. Should be a place filled with people who both push you out the door towards your adventure and stand in the doorway crying tears of sadness that you're leaving. To belong means that you know you fit there. You're a piece of the puzzle nestled into all the other odd-shaped pieces, making something whole. When I was 8, we moved to Valley City, North Dakota. This move was big for several reasons. First, we moved into our first house. My family had only lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, so having my own room and a yard was a really big deal. Second, we got a dog. I had been wishing and hoping and modeling all of my pageant performances for a puppy since I could talk. It was one of the best days of my childhood when we got to bring our puppy Daisy home. And finally, this move meant finding a new church home. After a bit more intentionality in the search this time, we landed at Faith Lutheran Church. This congregation would become my anchor throughout elementary school, junior high, and high school. Here, my faith was formed. I was mentored as a leader, I made friends, I served, I grew in my love of music. My eyes were opened to the world and the church's place in it. For me, church was somewhere to belong. It was filled with broken people who loved Jesus and who cared about me just as I was. It let me try, succeed, and fail. Church was the place that I felt accepted, the place that welcomed me back again and again. Something to do that changes the world. As humans, we desire something to do, and not just anything, but something meaningful, something that will change the world for many or maybe for just one. Now, for some, volunteering is a part of feeding this desire, and whether it's a couple of hours or a week or a year, mission, and service is this desire to do something lived out. For others, it's their job. I think about my mom, who has worked as a Head Start preschool teacher for 25 years. Head Start primarily serves children who are living in poverty or at risk. Every day, she goes to work and changes the world bit by bit for those little people and their families by providing wisdom, structure, love, and so much more. A desire to do something that changes the world might be a little bodacious. The offer to go and be a part of God's mission in this world can feel so weird when the world seems dark and twisted. But this isn't the kind of, like, I volunteer as tribute kind of send me that we go on as Christians. It really isn't about us or what we think we can do. As Christians, I think our godly desires to contribute to the world are rooted in gratitude. It's our response to the grace, mercy, and love we receive on a daily basis because of Christ's sacrifice. Christ was born, died, and rose for us, a gift freely given, and we live our lives in response to that gift. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing, it is the gift of God. Ephesians 2:8. This is the scripture we chose for the 2018 ELCA Youth Gathering after spending hours of thinking and talking about these three desires that young people carry with them. Grace is a foundational and distinctive piece of Lutheran faith. This gift, undeserved and freely given, changes lives and perspectives as people realize they are enough because of what Christ has done, and that they are then called into the world to serve their neighbor and to share the good news. This changes everything. In 1997, I was selected to be part of Eastern North Dakota Synod's delegation to the Lutheran Youth Organization Convention and the Youth Gathering. I boarded a bus with strangers from across the Synod, and we made the very long trek to New Orleans. That weekend was transformational for me. Worshiping, learning, fellowshipping with tens of thousands of my peers blew my mind. I was both challenged and grew in my faith. I had no idea the church was this big, that worship could look, feel, and sound different than what I had always known, that God wanted us to go into the world to be the church. Strangers on that bus became dear friends, some of which are still my closest friends to this day. Now, I had been a church nerd for years, but the gathering opened up like a whole new level, a whole new level of church nerd reality. And I could not shake that feeling when I got home. Because of my time in New Orleans, because of our time together in New Orleans, we went back to Eastern North Dakota and reinvigorated our synodical youth ministry. And we created opportunities for more young people to experience life together as the church. It was also largely due to the gathering and what happened when I returned home from it that my call to youth ministry was solidified. I knew in my heart what God had put me on this earth to do. I loved the energy and the excitement for Jesus that I felt with other young people. Honestly, the joy and the hope young people bring to our church and our world is addictive. Youth ministry is more like white water rapids than a bubbling brook, but I feel blessed to swim in it, or more accurately, be pulled along in its current. It's not too often that as an adult, you get to go back and influence something that transformed your life as a kid. So I couldn't pass up the opportunity to lead this ministry that continues to impact youth and adults so deeply.
You gotta dab on it. Dab on it.
What was it like being at the 2012 gathering?
Like starting now? All these experiences you'd have and people you meet.
The magnitude and just the sheer volume of people, and it's just an incredible experience that really, I don't know where I or anyone else could get that experience anywhere else.
A monumental experience that just belongs on the timeline of your faith journey.
It was extremely deep for me in terms of my faith journey.
You get to meet people from all over the world.
And I really did see God in new ways, because when you're with 30,000 people, it's this really powerful feeling.
In terms of the nightly gatherings, that was extremely deep for me because it would simultaneously challenge your faith and reassure your faith.
So you get to understand more what it means to be Lutheran.
What really impacted me and made me stop and kind of gaze in wonder
was we got to get all of the youth of the ELCA together in one place.
Was seeing 30,000 other teenagers just like me
to worship and have a great time.
I think one of the biggest things that I really took away from the youth gathering was the realization that you are making a difference.
It's also gathering kids together and celebrating their faith. I just really believe in renewing the church through the faith of its youth. Jesus used children as a role model for faith. Unless you become like this child, we need the faith of our kids to help us move the church into the next generation.
I think for me, in both places, it was this idea of accompaniment lived out. People would ask, well, why are you here? Like, what are you doing here? And just the opportunity that provides to engage the communities that are welcoming us.
I think the youth gathering enriches congregational ministry and gives them some other language and some other tools and other experiences to take back and live out then in their local congregations.
Being able to go to a place where there's thousands of Lutherans and you go help a city of people, and it makes you so proud of doing so much discipleship, because we learn about that in church, but then when you actually do it, it makes you feel better about being a person and being a Christian.
But once I came back,
It is a place where Christ is.
And it makes you want to do something when you get home.
I really just started thinking, how can I find God like I did at the gathering back home?
It was just a really great experience, and I'll probably remember it for the rest of my life.
My daily prayer that the gathering, really all of the ELCA, but the gathering is what I have the most control of, so I'll start there. That the gathering is a ministry in which people can wrestle with their desires like I did when I was in high school, attending for my first time. I hope that people see and hear glimpses and start to gain clarity on who they desire to be. That they hear that they are welcome and that they experience a place of belonging. That they not only hear stories and meet people who are changing the world because of their faith, but that they actually get to do a small piece of world changing and then are fired up to do more when they get home. And all of this desiring and discovering is done in the shadow of the cross. All of this is because of Jesus, because of God who turned the world upside down. Ultimately, I just want young people to understand the fierce love that God has for them, just as they are, and that by grace, through faith, they have been saved. When young people, or really any age person, truly claims this reality, it indeed changes everything. Thank you, and God bless you as you do your ministry with young people.
Challenge. You heard the challenge, right? Steve Delzer is the ringleader, Southeast Minnesota. He was deeply offended that we beat them out again. I hope that you come and be a part of it. It is just a wonderful event. It is life-changing both for adults and kids. I've participated in as a parish pastor. I did not do that. We had gatherings in North Dakota when I was a kid growing up, but we didn't go to the National Youth Gathering. But I've enjoyed every one of them as I've been a part of them, both in the parish and now as the bishop. So I hope to see you there and be a part of that. This evening, we are about to conclude. Is Pastor Johnson here? He's going to pray us into the evening in just a second. Just a couple of announcements. You still need to tend your voting machines. You don't need to talk to them or anything like that, but if you lose them, we're going to want some money back. And to date, we've never lost one. One came in a little late. It was like 6 months later. No. But, and then we're starting at 7 with the prayer breakfast. We'll feed you. You'll have opportunity to hear from our companion Synod folks. I hope that you come and make yourself available. From there, we'll move into worship. Then we're going to move into the annual meeting of Lutherans Outdoors. And then we have some thank yous that I hope that you can come and be a part of, and a celebration of a campaign well run and well worked on by you. So that's tomorrow. So are there any other announcements that need to be made? Yay? Nay? Any more constitutional little tidbits we need, Secretary Berger? No? Did you see me giving him little hanging curveballs over the plate? Did you see that? He really likes that stuff. I love constitutional nerds. It's just the best. You need them. You really do. But you don't want to be one. I'm just saying. No, it's been great working with you today. So take opportunity to thank the folks that made themselves available for office. As a part of worship tomorrow, we're going to be doing a couple of pieces. One, we'll install our new officers. We will install the Synod Council. And because I've heard from several people how well it went at Churchwide when they did a public recognition of the change of the name of the 3 lay rosters to deacon in worship at Chicago at Higgins Road. They did a public recognition of that change as a part of the worship service. And so tomorrow we're going to be doing that as well for our deacons that are in our community. And for those that let us know, we recreated their letters of call. They're still identical. We didn't make congregations vote or do any of that kind of stuff, but we have the new title across the top. So they've been signed. They'll need to be signed again by elected leaders in their own church, but they have the same dates they came with. So none of those pieces have changed, but we did want to recognize the change in title. So as a part of worship tomorrow, those people will be invited forward. I've asked Secretary Berger to lead that part of the liturgy, and we will hand out those new letters of call. So Pastor David, would you be so kind as to pray us into the evening and a night of rest?
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, Veni, Vidi, Vici. We are not now referring to Julius Caesar. We are thinking of Jesus, the only one of whom it can truly be said that he came, he saw, he conquered. During Advent and Christmas, we are reminded of how Jesus has come into our world and how he comes to us and how he will come again. A gift of love in every case. In Scripture, we look at the many ways Jesus saw what life on earth was like and how it could be made better through faith in him. And the sequence of events in Holy Week through Easter conveys the meaning of cross and crown, apparent defeat, and final glorious victory. So the decisive battle has been fought. He came, he saw, he conquered. Now, Father, you call your church to participate in mopping up, spreading the word of victory, securing the peace, and making life better for our neighbor. We pray that you will provide the church with energy and stamina for the days and work ahead. Help us to remember that you are the commander, we are the foot soldiers. We listen to your commands. You bring us into formation called the church, and we ask you to help us to march to the beat of your drum. Amen.
We are in recess until tomorrow, and welcome to our 7 a.m. prayer breakfast tomorrow morning. Go in peace and have a night of rest.